Ladies and gentlemen, this is Scott Pollock, Chief Editor of the Critical Post Chicago, reporting. Welcome to another edition of the Goldwater Report. Thanks again, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning us in. We appreciate it here at the Goldwater Report, sponsored by the Critical Post Chicago. If you wouldn't mind, go over to our head page and click on an ad. Any ad that you see, Google will pay us. Ladies and gentlemen, I have stayed off the air for 2 months now. Last report was somewhere right after the inauguration of Donald Trump. And I've stayed off the air for a lot of reasons. The first thing I wanted to see was exactly how was everything going to unfold. Now, I've watched a lot of news people in the quote-unquote alternative news universe hitch their wagon to the Don Trump popularity train. I have watched their channels gain subscribers upon subscribers. Anything newsworthy of Trump is what they're reporting on. One of them, and I won't mention the man's name by name, I'm very disappointed in. Very disappointed. Went from like 14,000 subscribers to over 102,000. Ladies and gentlemen, I have told people, and I'm going to continue to tell people, that if we don't report it at this anchor desk, it's nothing that you need to be concerned with, because it's just a bunch of lies. The confusion campaign that is rampant across everywhere you look in the media, whether it be the major media corporate conglomerates, the alternative right, the alternative left, all of these other people, the conservatives, the liberals, the socialists, the capitalists, or the libertarians, all of it is garbage. It's not telling us anything. It is a bunch of people who are impressed by themselves and with themselves of their own opinion about what it is that one person over on one side said or one person over on another side said. None of it means anything. None of it is important. Turn it off. As the television continues to infantilize the public through advertisement, as the television and the internet and the entertainment channels on those two mediums continue to march out the nihilism and the pornography and the fear pornography and the sex pornography and identity politics and all of this garbage, as all of this is going on, the American public, you are being insulted on a continual basis, and your system has been shocked so many times that at this particular point in time, the audience that should be paying attention is ambivalent to what's going on. I know that in my own personal life. They don't want to hear it any longer. I'm not sure that there's a conspiracy afoot that would go something like this. They are projecting garbage onto the air every day in such immense amounts so as to drive the American public into absolute, utter submission and bitter ambivalence to the whole melee. They don't want you to be concerned. And that's coming from the very top. I have written several different scripts that I was going to speak about concerning the economic fascism that we're all being subjected to, which basically is marrying and is successfully married the British culture to the American culture, which is what this Affordable Care Act is all about. Nobody's asking the right questions. Several months ago, there was an article. $6.5 trillion missing out of the Department of Defense. And the Army Accountancy Corps has got until September of 2017 to come up with some kind of an accountancy. $6.5 trillion missing, gone. Nobody is covering it. Nobody in the conservative sphere is covering it. Nobody is demanding answers. Now that's almost twice the national budget. $6.5 trillion. Where did this money go? Ladies and gentlemen, the secrets of the American central government, I won't even call it a federal government at this point, because it is not an agreement. We don't have an agreement. The contract for the American people from the several states, known as the Constitution by some, has been completely nullified. It's disappeared. It's gone. It doesn't exist. But the secrets of this government are not buried in the consolidated financial statements of the 645 agencies, although there are some secrets there. But that's secrets that if you can actually dig to get some information on. Not all of them. But are being held by the private corporations that are contractors for the government. Big ones like General Electric and General Motors and Ford Motors. General Dynamics. Rockwell Standard. McDonnell Douglas. Bechtel. Rand Corporation. Boeing. Lockheed Martin. And other lesser-known contractors. Also in the tech industry, IBM, Microsoft, Apple, and others. Google. The secrets are being held in the private corporations. Ladies and gentlemen, this is economic fascism. And now everybody, Trump came out with some window dressing. He issued some executive orders, and the Democrats got mad, and the Republicans, meekly fought back. This exercise of narcissism by all of the pundit corps on the left, the right, and the center, this exercise of opinion and narcissism is sickening. And Matt Drudge somehow seemingly is getting away with dictating the narrative. Every day. He is now the #2 traffic site in the world. Number 2, under MSN. MSN was number 1 this month. And then ESPN is up there. They're a sports network. Google's up there. Every night, we have been documenting for the last 6 years, every night at midnight, just about every night, except when I'm tired. We have been documenting the propaganda narratives coming over Bing, Google, Yahoo, and Drudge. And Matt Drudge is getting away with this garbage. Why didn't Matt Drudge put that item that I mentioned earlier front page center and keep it there? That's probably the most important piece of news we've heard in the last year. $6.5 trillion missing. And we won't know anything about it until September of 2017, and maybe not even then. And now we're watching all this window dressing coming out of the Trump administration. Everybody on the alt-right, what they now calling, they came up with a name, they call it the alt-right. Everybody hitching their wagon to this man as if he's some kind of messiah. Now granted, it is a better choice for us than that which from the Clinton clan would have been. No question. But what are we really going to get? What are we really getting? Okay? His administration is filled with darlings of the Republican establishment. Reince Priebus is his chief of staff. Ladies and gentlemen, this isn't serious. We're not getting serious here about doing anything important other than holding place where we are right now. That's the only thing that's happening. It's a placeholder until they can totally ground this country. Do you think that they're going to get rid of the World Trade Organization? Do you think they're going to get rid of the World Bank or the International Monetary Fund? Is any of this going to occur? And I'm here to tell you it is not going to occur. Even from my own network of people, I'm hearing that there's some rumblings going on in the background about the Federal Reserve, and there might be a change, and the big monetary reset is on the way. I highly doubt it. I highly doubt that. The only one who took Trump to task about decommissioning the Federal Reserve and fractional banking in this country was me. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want freedom, stop using that cabbage called a Federal Reserve note. Go to your local retailer of various places and ask them if they'll start accepting silver coins. Silver in payment per the market. You want freedom? Stop using that stuff. Keep only as much money as you can, as you need to, in the bank to pay the bills. Don't keep the rest of it in a bank, because as soon as you deposit it, it's their property. Because they are an investment bank as well as they are a commercial bank and a retail bank. That's the most important thing going on. This is absolute garbage we're watching, ladies and gentlemen. Jerry Corsi got himself a job with Alex Jones, who daily, Alex Jones that is, makes himself the center of his own news stories, and he's borrowing the garbage from all around the internet. And when he writes an original story, it's about how he's, the king of alternative news now. Right? Jerry Corsi reported that $200 billion was stolen from Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and dumped into the Affordable Care Act. As if that's the big story. That's a pittance compared to, that's 1/30th of what's missing from the Defense Department. Mark Levin, every night of the week, rails on about how conservatism is, it's supposed to be this and it's supposed to be that. And 2 years ago, he comes out with the Liberty Amendments, a book he wrote, asking for an Article 5 convention, which everybody else started to call an Article 5 convention of the state. Everybody started calling it a constitutional convention. They don't even know what they're talking about. But regardless of that fact, so they talked about it for a couple of weeks, and then it quickly faded from view. And every once in a while on his nightly news commentary program, which is national in scope on the syndication circuit on radio, he mentions the fact that there might be an Article 5 convention. If I was Mark Levin and I was serious about trying to reinstitute the contract known as the Constitution of the United States, and I was serious about that, that would be front and center every night with the national microphone. It's barely even mentioned. You go to the Convention of States website, you don't see anything. There's no activity, very little. And now with Don Trump, getting back to this president. So we got some window dressing, some executive orders, and now the Republican establishment in Washington, D.C. and him are touting this new Health Care Act, citing the mantra, repeal and replace, as if the church of the media, we're all supposed to sit there and say, yeah, repeal and replace, yeah, that's what we got to do. They are insulting us. Turn it off. And tell all your friends to turn all of it off. And tell all of your friends to call Washington, D.C., their senators and their congressmen, and tell them to get out of our lives. How come nobody's asking the question, why is it that the central government in Washington, D.C. is paying for our Congress, is paying the salaries of our congressmen and our senators? Why isn't the states that sent them there paying their salaries? Why is the central government paying their salaries? How come nobody's asking that question? Where is there any serious inquiry going on here? The government is in every single thing we are doing. They're in your toilet. They're in your light bulbs, your cars, what you can eat, your computers, your phones. Alex Jones daily talks about how he's the one that broke the story about the CIA being what they are. No, he's not. All you had to do was read the National Defense Authorization Act that was enacted back in the first administration of George W. Bush. And you would have known right there. All you do is read it. I walk around and I talk to a lot of people, and I ask them if they've ever read the Federal Reserve Act of 1913. They don't even know that one existed. We have people in this country who have come from India and Pakistan, don't know anything about the documents that they're governed by. Everybody has been reduced to some kind of tax slave status. We have an electorate in this country where the Democrat Party is composed of a bunch of people who work for the government that are part of federal employees unions and state employees unions who are voting for their salary, and another population of people in the Democrat Party who are voting for their government benefits. And another wing of the Democratic Party, which is actually the illegal voter. And that's the Democrat Party in this country, plus all the stupid people who consider themselves to be liberals. And they live in the big cities. One of the people in our network was doing an investigation of the voter rolls, and he started in San Diego County. And I heard from one of my operatives that out of a population of 3.3 million, that in San Diego County alone, there were 500,000, approximately 500,000 illegal voter registrations in San Diego County alone. And then, when Sacramento, which is where he was going to compare the voter rolls and the voter registrations, one to the other, on a one-on-one basis, as soon as Sacramento found out what he was doing, the offices in Sacramento shut him down and would only allow him one registration inquiry a day. That's the Democrat Party in this country. The Republican Party in this country is everybody else who can't stand the Democrats. And between the two in this last election, it was a Hobson's choice. You want one piece of garbage or another piece of garbage. And now that man is going to try and ram this health care bill through, saying that how great it is. Garbage. What business does this central government have in getting involved in any of this? They have no business being involved in it. But we're so concerned with all the dummies in this country. The American population is sick. And Alex Jones and all the rest of the people in alternative media aren't going to correct it, no matter how hard myself or anybody else screams about. They're sick. And they watch the Drudge Report, and they watch Alex Jones, and they watch the cable news channels, and they watch ABC, NBC, and CBS. That's where they're getting their information from, and it's garbage. And that's why your life, ladies and gentlemen, is being swung to and fro like a pendulum. The population's working against you if you got your head on straight. And everybody watches the church of the media. Oh, this. Oh, that. Oh, the weather. Oh, sports. Oh, celebrities. Are you kidding me? Nobody's asking the right questions anywhere. So I'm playing around with an idea. And I'm thinking, okay, we got, between the White Hats report and myself at this anchor desk, we have dozens upon dozens of private investigators across the country. And we'd like to put these men and women to work and actually get a real news company up. And then they have reporters that are good writers process the data that comes in. And put up a Patreon or one of these GoFundMe campaigns and saying, okay, these are the priorities of the investigations we'd like to see. It's going to cost this for this, this for this, this for this, and ask people to donate and see if they even want to know anything. Ladies and gentlemen, I mean, that's what's going on in this country. We need actual serious investigation going on. Who's asking? Who's pouring through the consolidated financial statement of the IRS and reporting about that? And this man, Don Trump, is selling us a bunch of window dressing and being compromised from within. And then you got guys like Michael Savage coming out with another book called Trump's War. As if reading that book is going to marshal the intestinal fortitude of the population to make sure that this country is dialed back to some kind of reasonable environment. It's absolute garbage. This man isn't going to do anything more than anybody else. And I'm telling you to tell all your friends to turn them off. If there is something newsworthy that's actually worth paying attention to, I'm going to tell it to you from this anchor desk. And I'm not going to come on the air every day or so as an exercise in some kind of narcissism to tell you one thing or another so that you're continually paying attention to me. Because that's narcissism. I'm not interested in it. We have a problem in this country. And people are addicted to their fear. And they're addicted to their sports. And they're addicted to their pornography. And they're addicted to poorly resourced, relevant news reporting. It's garbage. Turn it off. If you want freedom, ladies and gentlemen, stop using Federal Reserve notes, take them out of the bank, and start using silver. Go to your local retailer and ask them if they'll start taking silver coins in return for their services and goods. That gets the federal government totally out of the way. Who's talking about that in the media? And the answer is nobody. It's garbage, ladies and gentlemen. There's nothing going on but the rent. And the economic fascism that is now become so normalized across the world that everybody's so used to that big beast sitting next to them in the bed, they don't even know that beast is there. How come Mark Levin and all the conservative commentators aren't asking for a repeal of the IRS and income tax? That's where the biggest amount of theft is concerned, is going. I know people that make $3,000, $4,000 every couple of weeks. A third of that check is gone. 35% is gone before they ever get their hands on it. And everybody's scared of the bad IRS. How come nobody's asking for a repeal of that? None of these commentators are doing us any bit of good. They're not talking about the right things. They're not asking the right questions. They're not producing the kind of investigations we need to understand and we need to know. So maybe we're going to put up a suggestion list of the kind of investigations we think would be important so that you can fund them and get some answers. Maybe we'll do that. We're not going to sell you vitamins. But certainly, no important questions are being answered here. This is not serious stuff. This is a bunch of pop cultural drivel. And to make Matt Drudge that website #2 in the world? Who's kidding who? But we document it every night. Where's the stuff about the Veterans Administration from the Trump administration said he's going to take care of our vets? And now they're going to ram through this other garbage and call it, they're going to tell us that that's a free market? Who's kidding who, ladies and gentlemen? If somebody can tell me in this small audience that we have, I would like somebody to tell me. Call us up at 312-544-0134. I'm going to record that conversation. Somebody tell me, what are we learning that's important from any of this? I'd like to know. I'm not going to be a special pleader for the president or any politician at this desk. I'm not doing it. And I'm not going to regurgitate the garbage that we're listening to. And I see it every day. Every day. I see the same things. If you're paying attention to it, which you shouldn't, I see the same things you see. And we're not learning anything. $6.5 trillion missing from the Department of Defense. Who's talking about it? 50 years hence, we don't know who killed. 53 years, we don't know who killed JFK. We have others in the alternative media telling us that there's a secret space program. Who has got any evidence of anything? Who is turning anybody into a whistleblower that can tell us with any degree of certainty what's going on with that? You can't get the secrets because it is being held as privately held property by large corporations that are in lockstep partnership with the government, and that's known as fascism. They throw this word around, fascism, as if it's the same thing as synonymous with racism. It's not. And the whole world has been normalized under the principles of economic fascism, which is socialism with a veneer of capitalism. That is what economic fascism is. And then we got guys like Alex Jones saying that he broke this story and he broke that story, and he's got Jerry Corsi now, and he sells you some vitamins and tells you it's going to make you Superman. Who's he kidding? Your problem is in the banking industry, ladies and gentlemen. That's where your freedom is being taken away. That's how your freedom is being taken away. And nobody is talking about it because they don't understand it. They're afraid to talk about it. You see that banner we put up in the front end and the back end of every single report? Those numbers are real, ladies and gentlemen. And that's almost 9 years ago now. We don't have anything serious going on here. How stupid can the American population collectively be? I'm convinced they don't want you paying attention. That's why they're putting all this garbage out. And the conservatives aren't helping because they're not talking about the right things. They're talking about what the Washington Post is talking about, and what the New York Times is talking about, and the Boston Globe, and maybe something from Canadian Free Press every once in a while, or something from the LA Times. This is all a bunch of controlled nonsense. It doesn't mean anything. It is not going to help you. Ask yourself, who is asking the question, why aren't our senators and congressmen being paid from our own state capitals? We're the people that are supposedly sending them there. How come nobody's asking this question? Why isn't Mark Levin and Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity and all these great conservative commentators asking that question? That's how ridiculous it's all gotten. And now I'm hearing from my own network that there's a network of people, there's supposedly something going on in the background about a reset. I don't believe one word of it. You should be making fun of every single person that is out there. You should be looking at them down your nose as some kind of clown. Turn it off, ladies and gentlemen. Again, call this program up. Call me up on the phone. Send an email to Brian Sidler. That's B. Sidler, S-I-D-L-E-R, at thecritical-post.com. And tell Brian when you're going to call this desk. And I'll answer the phone. I'll record that phone call and then call 312-544-0134. And you tell me, somebody out there in this audience, tell me what we're really learning. We're not learning anything. Nothing important is being discussed. None of the core issues is being discussed. And the biggest core issue is the decommissioning of the Federal Reserve and fractional reserve banking. Inflation is eating you alive. And nobody's talking about it. Inflation only helps people with a lot of money that are invested. And it's eating you alive. Learn how to trade with old pre-1964 silver coins. A market needs to be developed for real money. And on the currency side, all they have to do, with all these unfunded liabilities that we have, over $200 trillion worth of unfunded liabilities, all they have to do is activate the United States Treasury, tell the Federal Reserve to take a hike, decommission the Federal Reserve notes, get them out of circulation, and print the money to pay for all these unfunded liabilities, since everybody thinks that they're entitled to some kind of government entitlement. All they do is just print it. You think that's going to occur? I highly doubt it. Absolute garbage we're watching, ladies and gentlemen. Absolute garbage. Turn it off. if we hear something about this so-called reset that's actually concrete, we'll let you know about it. Right now, it's just a rumor, and it's a big rumor at that. It's garbage. They have to get rid of the World Trade Organization, the World Bank, and the International Monetary Fund. You think that's going to happen? Ain't going to happen overnight, I'll tell you that. Globalism is here, and it's here to stay. No matter what the voting population does, because you got 2 generations of people that have come up after the baby boom generation that don't have a gosh darn clue. Then there's all the sellouts of the baby boom generation. Turn it off, ladies and gentlemen. Again, this is Scott Pollack, Chief Editor of the Critical Post Chicago, reporting. Thanks again for watching another edition of the Goldwater Report. That is all.